Godzilla is the king of monsters. Having lasted over 70 years, Godzilla has smashed, crushed, and roared his way into pop culture legend. Everyone knows the destruction Godzilla can cause, the destroyed buildings, screaming citizens, entire cities on fire. In movies, the result is entertaining. In real life, however, it would probably be less so. Which brings us to an interesting scenario. What if Godzilla was real? What if tomorrow Godzilla rose from the sea and began destroying cities? How would the world react? How would people react? What would be the economic and social effects if this legendary monster wiped out a major metropolitan area? Well, let's find out. Before talking about the scenario itself, we need to clarify which Godzilla we're talking about. Godzilla has evolved and changed over the years, growing in size and shifting personalities. This can have a drastic effect on how the scenario would work. In fact, for each different Godzilla, there could be an entirely different scenario. But we don't have time for that. So for this scenario, we are going to go with the most recent interpretation, the new 2014 legendary Godzilla. This one stands at around 150 meters, or roughly 500 feet, and is one of the largest incarnations. So this is the one we'll be using for this scenario. For this scenario, we'll have Godzilla attack a major American city on the west coast, like Los Angeles or Seattle. So Godzilla rises out of the ocean and moves toward the city. For the American public, the initial reaction would be one of disbelief. For the civilian and local authorities, they have no idea how to react to such a situation. A mass panic would ensue and thousands would begin to flee from the shore. Even the stampede could cause casualties before Godzilla even made it into the city. The American military would attempt to subdue the incoming Godzilla. This means they would deploy fighter jets, bombers, ground troops, and tanks in a battle against the monster. It would literally be war to retake the city and stop Godzilla from continuing forward. However, the United States would realize the weapons are not working, so they would use heavier artillery, so to say. Wherever Godzilla would be, it would not just be the monster civilians would have to worry about, but the military campaign against it too. Killing Godzilla would be the first priority for the US, and in a realistic scenario, if civilians could not retreat in time, they could be counted as acceptable loss. In the most conventional terms, Godzilla is nearly impossible to kill. Not even a nuclear bomb can kill him. Thus, human weapons for the most part would be utterly useless. With this, it is up to the assumption Godzilla simply rampages through the city. Even if Godzilla is not trying to destroy anything, his sheer size could destroy entire blocks, buildings, and wipe out millions of lives. At the end of the attack, Godzilla goes back into the ocean and disappears. Any military engagement on him would be away from the public eye, and the military battle would move underwater out at sea. After the initial attack, the city's coastlines, downtown, and other regions are in ruins. The population either fleeing, hiding, or left to deal with the apocalyptic destruction never seen before. If, say, Los Angeles is hit, its population is roughly 4 million. If even 10% of the population was affected by Godzilla's destruction, that is still 400,000 lives potentially lost. This brings us to the aftermath of a Godzilla attack. The reality that at any time a massive reptile can come out of the ocean and kill you and everyone you love would be a hard one to accept. World reaction to a Godzilla attack anywhere would be one of fear and panic. Any city on the coast can now be vulnerable to destruction. Tokyo, Hong Kong, New York, cities with millions of people are suddenly in the gravest danger. The cultural and social effects would be astounding. First off, all the world religions would automatically have their own interpretations of what Godzilla means. To many, this would be a sign of the apocalypse. Many would worship him as a god or fear him as a demon. North Korea would probably say they created him. The world economy could be put in jeopardy as stock markets across the world plummet. The idea that importing goods on the coast could be wiped out in a day would not lead to the most stable trading markets. With shipping on the coast at risk, businesses could lose product, and thus investors would not want to put money into something that could be so vulnerable and destroyed. Economic investment would flee from coastal cities and into landlocked states and regions. Global superpowers would meet to discuss how to deal with the monster. Even though their weapons would be pretty much useless against Godzilla, that wouldn't stop them from trying to kill him. Thus, the world would unite against the monster. United States, Russia, China, UK, all working together to hunt down and attack Godzilla. Technology would be used to track Godzilla's movements, thus being able to save millions of lives by warning of an impending attack. Even though many more cities would be affected or destroyed, humanity would still fight on. If Godzilla was truly real, nobody would want him alive. The potential destruction he could cause if he existed would leave him to be a far more deadly adversary than terrorism or anything the world had seen before. Once Godzilla rose from the sea, entire military battles would occur in major cities. Battle of Tokyo, Battle of Seattle, etc. If Godzilla existed, it would be a war and millions would die. In war, technology is invested to gain an advantage, and so it is easy to assume humanity would invest in new technology to kill Godzilla. What this technology would be and if they could even kill him is up to your interpretation. If humanity is unable to subdue Godzilla with new technology, then the entire aspect of human civilization would be shifted. The coastline would become a hazard to all who lived on it, and thus a mass economic exodus would probably occur in the coast. Those who could afford to leave would leave. In the United States, waves of people would move from the east and west coast and into regions such as the Rockies or the Great Lakes. Godzilla is not an army or an animal. Godzilla would be like a hurricane, as described in the most recent movie, A Force of Nature. This force of nature would be the #1 target for all of mankind. No matter if Godzilla meant to attack humans or not, his deadly potential would make him a danger to all of humanity. Godzilla is a pop culture icon and a legend in the history of film. Yet if he was real, Godzilla would be feared by all of human civilization. How do you think the world would be if Godzilla existed? Like us on Facebook, subscribe if you have not done so. This is Cody from the Alternate History Hub.